Nolan, some of how like you got introduced to making games, and part of that was through Adam, which is part of the fun of like we wanted to have you both on at the same time. So I thought maybe you could talk about that a little bit and just give a little bit of that backstory and just so the listeners out there could hear that side too.
Let's see. So I started making games maybe like three years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago. And originally, like, this was not really a thing that I was planning to do for particularly long. It was mostly a way to get back to coding. I love games. I played tons of games my whole life, right? Used to write about games. And started making games, like really small games in like Godot. I think like one bit of advice that you see a ton on the internet. I think it's really hard to give good advice about game development, but one I think very broadly applicable, often repeated bit of advice is just make a ton of games, right? Like don't, like the classic mistake is that somebody makes an MMO that takes them 4 years and nobody plays it, and they learn so much along the way. So I was making these tiny little games in Godot, and found Adam stuff because I like made all of this pixel art and it all looks terrible. And I was like, so like, there's this weird thing when you're bad at something where you don't understand why, like you don't even have the like faculties to understand why it's bad. You're just kind of like looking at it and you're like, this is terrible. And I don't know the first step towards fixing it. And I never got good at pixel art. I ended up kind of moving away from making more typical games into the weird stuff that I do now. But one thing that I remember really enjoying about Adam's channel, and sorry, Adam, to compliment you live, is right. I think a lot of the stuff that you see on YouTube about making games is super edutainment-y, right? Like the audience of people that kind of want to imagine themselves as game developers is much larger than the set of people that actually have the time to sink into making a lot of games. And I think also probably the audience of people that wants to talk about games is larger than the audience of people that actually makes games and can talk about those in a compelling way. And so I think early on I was watching all this other content, right? And I would watch this video and I'd be feeling like I was learning a lot. And then I'd try to think about like, what did I actually learn from this? And the answer is like nothing, right? Like nothing applicable to making stuff. But when you watch people that are actually doing the work and talking about their decisions, I think you learn a lot more there. So that is how I ended up finding Adam's work, and I made slightly better pixel art, learned things like your pixels should be the same size and to use a consistent color palette and other dead simple things that I think are in literally my first blog on the site. Yeah, that's the background, and I think no one played any of the games that I made in that era. Not literally nobody, but like like I got like 100 players for my second game, and I was like, oh, this is incredible.
It's funny because that's also basically the way that I found Adam. I was just playing around with making some games, just like the concept of making a game. And then I found Adam's channel and I also really liked the art. And then me and Prime somehow found ourselves in a scenario where Cursor was like, yeah, you guys can make a video game. Go ahead, do it in a water tower. Yeah. Just put the game in the bag, bro. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do. And we were both like, I don't know. We should. And I was like, well, the coolest person I know that makes art for games and makes games is Adam. I don't know him at all. I've only watched his YouTube videos. And he happened to be in the U.S. What, the first time? Since when, Adam?
That was a year ago today, by the way.
Yeah.
That was literally today, a year ago.
No!
Yeah.
1 year
ago? Oh, yeah. I was right in this area. Oh, yeah.
I was in San Francisco for GDC. And you guys just reached out, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be around. And I hadn't been in the U.S. since 2011.
And then it was like, okay, well, do you want to fly down and make a game in a water tower with us? We're doing a 24-hour stream. And that's how the friendship started, which was awesome. So can second Adam being really good at making YouTube videos. If you guys aren't following him, you definitely should.
And he makes really good pixel art. It's addictive to watch.
Yes.
Press down! What happened? I don't know. Did you push?
On a Friday? Never!
How are we gonna figure this out? How are we gonna figure this out?
Got us your prods down? Do you guys need the wheel?
NeoVim config.
That makes sense.
I'm gonna spend a couple hours refactoring.
I'll need the plugins.
Don't guess where your issues are. You can see exactly where they are happening with Sentry. Get all the context you need to debug any problem because code breaks, so fix it faster with Sentry.
Okay, so then Nolan, so you were starting off, you found some stuff there, and then like, how did you kind of transition out of like making some more like Godot-based stuff into like making crazier things?
Yeah. So, do y'all know what the Recurse Center is? Feels like something you might know about.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. This is gonna sound like almost like an ad. I swear it's not. So early, like middle of that year, I went to this place called the Recurse Center, which is like a thing in Brooklyn that's kind of like a writer's retreat, but for programming.
Oh,
Like
cool.
you show up for like 6 or 12 weeks. It's free. They like make money with like placing people in jobs or something. It doesn't really matter. But the point is like you're in this room with other people that think it would be fun to program for 6 or 12 weeks on stuff that isn't for their job, right? And I'd known about it for a while. It's like 20 minutes from me. But I was there and I started kind of experimenting with like doing weirder things. I remember the first thing that I did that was stranger was, do you know the open search spec?
No.
This is okay. So you know, like in Chrome, if you type in like a website URL and you hit tab,
Yeah.
and then it like lets you search that website directly, right?
Yep.
So like you need a spec for that. Like the browser, like how does the browser know what endpoint to hit in order to like search that website? Open search is that spec. It's just an XML document you throw. You mention it in like the head of your index file. And yeah, no, I mean it's old, right? There's also like 14 things called open search, but this is the open search spec. So I happen to know, or I'd kind of like remembered that there's this extension to the spec that lets you offer search suggestions. So like you can offer an alternative endpoint and you like hit that endpoint and the endpoint returns back like suggestions for what you might be searching for, which makes a lot of sense, right?
Did you make a dungeon crawler?
I didn't make a dungeon crawler. But I was like, you know what? Like all you need for a game is like you're typing, or like you have some input mechanism and some output mechanism. And this works, right? Like you type a character, it hits this endpoint, the endpoint returns suggestions, the suggestions are automatically displayed in the browser. Like you can make a game there. And so I made Wordle. Which I called Wordle, not knowing that is Josh Wardle, who created Wordle's last name. And then like met him like a year later, and that was funny. But so I made that, and I was like in this environment where instead of just kind of making it and shipping it off into the void, there were all these like nerds around who are like, wait, this is kind of funny. This is compelling. And someone posted on Hacker News. It's the first time that I got on Hacker News. And I think like that is how I started kind of narrowing in on like, oh, I like it's funny to make computers do weird things. It's funny to make jokes. And so I started noticing, like I went back and I made some more traditional games while I was there. And I remember the last thing that I made, it was like a tiny little Vampire Survivors clone.
Oh, nice.
Like, you know, people were like doing all sorts of things like that, right? Because Vampire Survivors had just popped off.
Yeah.
And I was showing it at this gameplay test. And people were giving me feedback, and I could like feel myself, because I'd made some more weird stuff by then. I could feel myself like not like being like, I don't want your feedback. Not because like it's not good feedback, but because like I don't want to make games like this. And like you're giving me advice on like a thing that like I wish I hadn't made. Because like everyone around me, it was at the bar that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Had all of these like weird, interesting experimental things. And I'm just not like, I'm much better at that than I am at building like a beautiful, well thought out, you know, kind of within genre game. So that's kind of where I think that was the thing that really pushed me towards getting weirder and weirder and weirder.
I do have to say, I thought it was the most programmer description of a game of all time was, well, you just have some inputs and then you have outputs. So it's like, that's a game. You know?
It is. So this is, I think about this a lot with like the stuff when I'm making a game that is running in another application. So like that, or like I have like Flappy Bird running in MacOS Finder or whatever.
Right.
That is how like the terms that I'm thinking of. You like find like a surprising way that an application gives you input and output. Like for example, in Mac Finder, I can query to determine that you have clicked on a file. Right. And like that is sufficient input, right? And then output can be renaming files. This is a terrible way to think about like real games that people want to play. Yeah. But it's a great way to invent games that you can write blog posts about that people are read.
Which, hey, if that's a whole new genre of games, but it does work, and they are funny, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I think if that's all I did, I would get a little sick of it, but it's really fun sometimes.
Yeah.